Okay, we're going to call the December 20th Harahan Special Council meeting to order. Madam Clerk?
Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Councilman Asbill.
Present.
Councilman Buddy.
Present.
Councilman Chatelain.
Present.
Councilman Johnston.
Present.
Councilman Wheeler.
Present.
Mayor Bodier.
Present.
Police Chief Walker is absent. Fire Chief St. Cyr.
Present.
Finance Director Todd Turnion.
Present.
City Attorney Scott Stansbury is absent. Myself, Carrie Hustis, Clerk, is present.
No announcements. Clerk?
No announcements? Okay. Ordinances for approval. Proposed ordinance number 2022-20. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Chatelain and seconded by Councilman Asbill. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1925, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022 for the Capital Project Fund of the City of Harahan, Louisiana for a fitness court.
Okay, anyone like to come forth and speak on ordinance 2022-20, please come forward. Public hearing is now open. No one coming forth. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
This is 2022-20, correct?
Yes, sir.
Correct. I'd like to amend this to expend it out of the ARPA fund.
This is on the fitness court, correct?
Correct.
And I'd like to defer this until we get that cash analysis we've been waiting for, because I still don't know how much money the city has available to spend.
Well, if we amend it to take it out of the ARPA fund, there's no cash analysis on that. It's just whatever we have minus what you spent at the last meeting.
So could
3.4 million in the ARPA fund.
Minus
could we
the
have a
327.
discussion on the logic and the reasoning behind this? Because I haven't heard a word about it except seeing it in an ordinance. Where is it? Who proposed it? How did it come about?
So I'll tell you what it is. What it is an outdoor training court, and what we were looking to do is we were looking to put it at Royland Playground. It's kind of like a new craze, a new thing, you know, outdoor fitness where people can come, just a neighborhood type of fitness park. There was actually a grant at one point, a partial grant for the court, and we just thought it was something new and neat to put in. It's been getting a lot of press around the country, and it's just another way that people exercise. And the goal was, the thinking or the logic behind part of it was that is that we start to reshape Harahan Playground, we would give the people who are on the walking track and all another alternative to to have a place to go work out. But I do not have a problem with you deferring it, but that's what the goal of the idea behind it all was. We did a little bit of homework on it, and to be honest with you, it's been deferred so many times, I don't even know where we're at this point on being able to get it funded through the partial grant. I mean, it's something we'd have to go back and check on again. And
How much was the partial grant, Matt? Do you recall?
I don't recall. I don't have the numbers in front of me. It's been a minute, so I don't remember.
Yeah, it's in the.
And the logic behind putting it at Royland instead of Soniat in the middle of the walking track? where
Because
people
the
go
playground's
down?
we're hoping at some point the playground goes under a lot of construction, and it's gonna be hard having people around that construction, especially with the gym. You know, I mean, if we get to save the gym, it'll be gut out and there'll be containers and stuff everywhere.
Even if you do, you have the gym activities, the ball field activities, you have parking issues. I mean, it just frees up more space for the area for the people to enjoy going directly to the park for this particular item.
On the second page, it says the grant award was $30,000. So the total was 138 and brought it down to 112 with the freight.
But I don't have a problem deferring this till we get capital projects in the mix, and I believe we need to have a full project for ARPA. We need to sit down and put a full plan together if we're gonna start spending ARPA funds on miscellaneous things like this. Not that we can't, not that we shouldn't.
Yeah,
I just think we need to get a full set. Let's go, let's do something
I
big.
mean, I don't want to be obstinate, and we've been saying that for months.
Well, I too would like to see a
last
plan
month,
on
or at the
ARPA.
last meeting, the council spent $327,000 without one word of discussion out of ARPA.
I believe it was something that was a priority.
So in terms of ARPA also, I'd like us to have a public discussion on the limitations of using those monies. I'm happy to hear the possibility of using it for this type of project.
Do you think ARPA, this type of project is defined in ARPA?
I do.
Oh, I do 100%.
Okay.
So I'd like to hear from the administration a summary of the type of projects we could use ARPA funds on, and then kind of a global plan on how to spend that money, so it's not spent $130,000 at a time. And I don't want to say on a whim, but on an idea.
But-
We ought to be able to put together a needs of the city, prioritize them, and start spending that money that way. It's one-time money.
I'm not against spending ARPA money on this.
Neither am
I'm
I.
totally not against it.
I mean, if that's the route you want to take, I'll make sure everybody's got diagrams, you know, and because there's plans and everything that you can see that'll come with it. I'll have it all at the next council meeting, and maybe Councilman Asbill and I can, and another councilman put our heads together and get that full picture of ARPA, if that's the path that we choose to go.
I'd love to see it. Thank you.
I mean, it's there.
mean,
At some
and-
point, we need to spend it.
Yeah, I mean, in addition to this, I've got another $850,000 I'm going to propose that we spend from ARPA this evening, so would be my plan. And unfortunately, it's all recreation right now. I don't know what else we need. Sue, I know we just spent
Well,
$327 in sewer.
We certainly have street needs and drainage needs.
Of course.
And sewer
We
needs.
could spend the 3 million quick
Of
if we
course.
want. We just need to prioritize where
Right.
we want to spend
Yeah,
this
and I-
ARPA
and I-
fund. And it's
I
one-time
think it's
funding.
premature to
Yeah.
spend it. I mean, I was on board with spending the money for Lift Station 8, I believe it was, because of the critical need. But I'd like to see a big picture. I think it's prudent of us to have a big picture of where the city's priorities are. Our wish list, if we put one together, would probably be $5 million, $10 million. So you just got to put your wish list together and prioritize it as a council, as an
You know,
administration.
one thing I'd like to try to not forget, and I think a lot of the mission that I'll be on next year is trying to, you know, to go after some grant opportunity. And, you know, we're going to need match money for grant opportunity.
Exactly.
ARPA gives us an incredible opportunity to use ARPA money as leverage for 20 or 5 or 30% matches.
For
And it
certain product,
could be-
certain projects.
could be an opportunity to double or triple that money.
Correct.
If we're very wise with it and leverage it.
I mean, that's what we did with the
Well, even
lift station.
even offer now, so you know, even the 327 that we're taking now, we still have an opportunity to go work with Delta Regional Authority and use the money that we spent for a refund at the Delta Regional, so it gives us an opportunity to get 250 of that back, which, believe it or not, only has us spending 327, so that's
80,000,
250, yeah,
90,000.
72,000.
Yes.
So it's still, we're gonna get, you know, and again, so we've leveraged ARPA money to get, you know, a good chunk of it back. I mean, I just wanna make sure that we're thinking, because leverage is an incredible word that we should all be constantly keeping in our brains as we move
So-
forward. Can we leverage into a new grant?
So
I mean,
just as a thought, Mayor, as you and Finance Department and any councilman that you work with on it, as you develop a plan for spending the ARPA money, you would line item an amount of money for grants.
And I'd also like,
And you wouldn't want to spend that if you're hoping to use it for grants. And I don't know if that'd be 500,000 or,
so we also,
number you
too,
come
one
up
thing
with.
we gotta keep in mind, that we have, our advocate, you know, Elise Trapp, working on with Senator Lon right now in Baton Rouge, because we didn't get the water sector grant, but we have an emergency capital outlay in place for the same amount, actually a little bit more than a 40 somewhat, 4 million, but we're gonna need some match there to keep some skin in the game. I mean, if we lose that ability to match that, we're gonna lose the ability on all of that loan. You know, people wanna help you, but they wanna know that you committed as well. And I think that's just some things that we need to weigh out. But I do think, I do agree with Councilman Asbill. Let's start to put a plan together. Maybe it might be a secondary plan to disperse ARPA into different projects, but I'd honestly love to see us get through this fiscal session, and I'd love to see us get through the session in Baton Rouge and have a plan more along the lines of June if we can't leverage it in anything, and then I'll throw my hands up and say, okay, let's go. But if I got an opportunity, this gives me a lot of ammunition to go through using the word leverage. If I can start saying we'll match at 30% or we'll match 50%, you know, they got I forget where it's at in Louisiana, they got, you know, they had a 400, I think it was hundreds of billions of infrastructure work they got, and they used a DEQ loan to leverage. And without skin in the game, they wasn't gonna get that money, and they're consolidating non-sewer systems. And so it's important to build, and they did a 50% match. So sometimes if we want to be competitive, we might have to get out of the 25% or 30% match and get into the 50% match territory. But even at that, we're still doubling our money.
I'm with you.
So although I agree with Councilman Asbill, I'd like to, just,
I moved to him to reclassify this to Fund 130 to ARPA.
so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to move these funds to change them over to be financed by ARPA.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
Nay.
So you have,
We're just amending where the funds would come from, correct?
Correct.
I voted yay. I'm not sure
so
if you
you got-
caught that.
2 nays, 3
On an
nays. Just
amendment.
to amend where the funds come from.
Correct.
Okay? Got it?
Move to defer.
Okay, and Councilman Asbill moves to defer.
Second.
Open for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. We have a second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Yay? Yay? 5 yeas, 0 nays. 2022 is deferred. 2220 is deferred. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Proposed ordinance number 2022-24. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance adopting the following policies for the City of Harahan, Louisiana, as recommended by the Louisiana Legislative Auditor for bank reconciliations, budgeting, cards, contracting, debt service, ethics, payroll, purchasing disbursements, sexual harassment, and travel and expense reimbursements.
Okay, anyone wanting to come speak on proposed ordinance number 2022-24? Public hearing is now open. No one coming forth. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion?
This is my Councilman Chatelain ordinance. I was asked to propose an ordinance, so I proposed an ordinance. I was asked to sponsor an ordinance, so I sponsored it. If you have questions, please direct the questions to Finance Director Todd Turnion. And he's the one who put it together, to be honest.
Again, my comment was, while I agree with this 100% in theory, as I looked at it, it is not a policy. It is a bunch of recommendations that do not read like a policy. So I think in order for me to get comfortable with passing it, I would like to see it put into a policy format, which would take a little work. And I'd like to see added to this a policy on personal use of city-owned vehicles.
So I guess the question is, as you understand it, these best practices that were taken from the LLA website, is that the policy format that that should be used, I guess?
Sure, so the policies or the documents that are included in your packet are the recommended example best practice policies as presented on the Legislative Auditor's website. We did not edit the language except 1 or 2 slight items, which at this time I don't recall, but there was 1 or 2 slight edits that were really necessary. I was hesitant to make any edits to the example policies, frankly, because these are on the Legislative Auditor's website as best practices, example policies. So I was hesitant to make any changes except the 1 or 2 that were clearly just did not fit the city or were factually incorrect. And so we can make any changes that the council asks us to make, we'd be happy to make.
And Todd, I'm not recommending changes in the recommended policies, but when I read the first page, it's obviously a recommendation. Midway through the first page, it says preparation. The entity should appoint a bank reconciliation preparer. Well, we're not appointing one, and our policy should say we have a bank reconciliation process, and this is it. So again, not debating how good these
Sure.
policies are. They're just not in a policy format.
Okay.
So it would taking each one, the document, which is clearly a recommendation, and turning it into a City of Harahan policy on X, Y, Z. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
I'm unclear exactly what changes you may be asking for, but I'm happy to meet and we can understand a little more clearly.
Yeah.
It's probably my lack of understanding.
Yeah,
but
I've never seen a
I'm
policy
happy
before
to
that
meet.
said the entity should do something. I've seen policies that say we shall, or a title of a person shall do a bank reconciliation. This is, in all respects, recommendation. So if we adopt it, doesn't mean we're doing them. It just means we're saying we should do them.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to sit down.
I'm happy to
with
meet and make any changes,
Yep.
that the council asks us to make.
Mr. Buddy, you think this changes are going to be pretty substantial to where I should withdraw it in its current form?
No, I think the substance of the modifications would be in how they're titled, how each one's titled. Instead of saying it's a Louisiana Legislative Auditor recommendation, it would read City of Harahan Bank Reconciliation Policy.
Okay.
And then it won't say we shall appoint somebody. We will say, we'll put a job description or a person title next to it.
Okay.
And that's going to take some coordination with the mayor and also you, Todd, as finance director, because this is shifting around a whole bunch of things. So we got to have a person assigned to this. It's not a difficult task. It's more administrative, an administrative task. I haven't seen one thing in here where I'd say the actual policy recommended would be changed. Just, we'll turn it into a City of Harahan policy instead of a legislative recommendation.
Okay. On that, if there's no objection, I'll defer. Move to defer.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbell to defer.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Thanks.
2022-24 is deferred. Madam Clerk?
Proposed ordinance number 2022-28. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance providing that the Harahan Municipal Code be supplemented to fix the amount of compensation of the elected public officials of the City of Harahan as required by LRS 33404.1.
We're now open for public hearing. Anyone want to come speak on proposed ordinance number 2022-28? No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Council discussion.
I have a question and then a comment, and also I'll have a recommended amendment to it. But this is about $150,000 a year plus burden, so it'll be a little over $200,000 a year. I'm pulling a number out the air, but it'll be in that ballpark. I do not believe this is in the current budget. So Todd, is this, are these? I didn't think they were. I thought you had mentioned that.
No, sir.
So if we go forward with this tonight, I would ask someone to say what we're cutting to balance our budget, because this puts us about $200,000 out of the budget we're considering this evening. And the second thing is, I think the raises are reasonable, but I'm having a problem getting comfortable with voting for a raise for myself. I ran knowing what the salaries were. I'd be happy to do this for the next administration. And again, I think the amounts are extremely reasonable. I understand it's been some 20 years since these positions had raises. So if we do move forward with this tonight, I'd ask to amend it to delete Section 2, Column B. And if the council so chooses, you could put that in another ordinance to be submitted next month to be voted on. But again, if we can balance the budget, I'm comfortable with voting for the mayor and the police chief's raises. I am not comfortable with voting a raise for me, since I ran knowing what the salary is, and this is saying after I'm reelected, I'm going to give myself a raise. I just don't feel comfortable with that.
I'm in the same boat as Mr. Buddy. I agree that all city officials, all city workers are underpaid. But I also, I'll be abstaining from the vote just because I cannot vote for a raise for myself.
I actually feel the opposite. I feel that the council is actually, I know it's all 20%, but when you look at all the dollar amounts, it's very low. And I would actually amend to bring it up to 15.5.
So is that?
So with that being said, I amend
So can
bringing
we-
council up to 15.5.
So let me just say, Mr. Buddy, it's not $200,000 a year, by the way. The increases for the mayor,
Oh, you're right, I'm sorry.
yeah, no,
This is
no,
the new
it's
gross
only
salary.
roughly
Yeah.
about, I mean, and
Yes.
I'm not using
No,
it
you're correct.
properly.
You're correct, it's not.
It's about maybe
35 to
48, 50,000 a year.
Correct.
I just want to clear that.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not that
100%
much a year.
correct. Thank you.
Right. So with that being said, I would like to amend the council for 15.5 a year.
I'll second that.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill, second by Councilman...
Johnson.
I'm sorry, Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Wheeler. We're open for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll close public hearing. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Nay,
Yay.
Abstain.
nay.
So 3 yeas, 1 abstention, 1 nay. Amendment passes.
All right, well, I'll propose an amendment to delete Section 2, item B.
So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to...
No,
Buddy.
Shoot, I'm sorry. I don't know why I keep saying that. Motion on the floor by Councilman Buddy to delete Section 2. We'll open for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second by Councilman Chatelain. All in favor?
Yay.
Nay.
Abstain.
Nay.
Abstain.
3 nays, 1 yay, 1 abstention. Motion fails.
And to go along with my other amendment, I'd like to amend Section 1 to delete 20%, because it's not 20% for all of them. So I'd like to motion to delete 20% out of that sentence.
Okay.
All right, so we have a motion by Councilman Johnson to remove the type 20%.
Second.
Second by Councilman Asbill. Now for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. All in favor?
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Okay. Now proposed ordinance number... Who seconded this ordinance?
I did. Yeah.
All right, so now we'll call for the vote on proposed ordinance number 2022-28.
Motion.
Open the public
Oh,
hearing.
public-
Open for public hearing. Anyone want to come speak on this ordinance as amended? No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wheeler, second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
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 Nay.
Abstain.
3 yeas, 1 nay, 1 abstention. Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Can I, Councilman Johnson, what was the amount that you're...
15.5.
15.5. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you extinguished the lights. Makes no sense.
Okay, Madam Clerk, 2022-32, is that correct?
No. Proposed ordinance number 2022-31. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance providing that the Harahan Municipal Code be supplemented to fix the amount of compensation of the municipal officer of the City of Harahan as required by LRS 33-381A.
Okay, so we're now for public hearing on anyone who wants to speak on proposed ordinance number 2022-31. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Council discussion.
Yeah, so if you remember, this was brought to us about a year ago. I think Carrie had just recently got promoted to the clerk's position.
Claus.
And I would say she has done an absolutely phenomenal job. And I know we discussed at the time, it was still kind of new, so I fully support this raise, and I would appreciate the support of the entire council.
And that was seconded by Councilman Johnson.
Johnston?
Okay, anyone else?
And I'd like to comment that I think it's a well-deserved raise, and I support it. Again, I just want to, as we proceed tonight with budgets, I want to see what we can do to keep this in balance.
Okay, so we have a motion on the
I'd
floor.
like to see, I know we've raised this recently in the past 5 years or so. I'd like to see a bigger increase here. We just gave the council and the mayor and the police chief 20% plus raises. I'd like to see the same on the city clerk. So I move to amend to $60,000 per year.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill to amend 2022-31 to read 60,000. We're now open for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Councilman Chatelain and Councilman Buddy, but second by Councilman Chatelain. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
All right,
Nay.
5 ye-
I'm sorry.
You said
Wait,
nay?
Nay to the amendment?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying nay to the
Okay,
amendment.
so we have 1 nay, 4 yeas.
4.
Move as amended.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councilman Wheeler, second by Councilman Johnson to call for the vote. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yay.
5 yeas. Were you, Ms. Tom?
I'm nay, I'm
Okay, so
sorry.
4 yeas, 1 nay. Madam Clerk? 2022-31.
Proposed ordinance number 2022-32. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance amending ordinance number 1925, the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2022 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
Okay, anyone want to come forward and speak on proposed ordinance number 2022-32? Please come forward. No one coming forward. We'll now close public hearing. Council discussion. No council discussion. We'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Mr. Tom? you-
Yes,
5
yay.
yeas, 0 nays. Motion carries. Madam Clerk?
Proposed ordinance number 2022-33. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Wheeler and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance adopting the annual budget of revenues and expenditures for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2023 for the city of Harahan, Louisiana.
Okay, we're now open for public hearing. Anyone wanting to come speak on proposed ordinance number 2022-33? No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Council discussion.
My first comment goes back to the raises. What is done to balance this budget? And how much is it?
It's about roughly about 47, if you just add the 5.
Certainly, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I was just thinking, I mean, it's roughly, now that we did the extra 5 for Kerry, it puts about 47,000 a year.
In salary.
In salaries, and that's including council, mayor, and chief. Again, rough figures.
Right.
So that puts it about 47, so I just make a motion, maybe we can increase the revenue,
Right.
the receipts, for maybe sales tax or.
Sales tax, right.
I mean, Todd, some
Well,
guidance.
what is the burden on administrative?
I would say more than, so the payroll tax, even just the payroll tax,
Oh,
so
that's right, so maybe like
council
50,
members, staff, so I'd say 55.
55, okay.
Just as a, you know,
That's
Now-
chief, that's Kerry, that's everybody? Or is that just?
Yeah, because it's about a 52,
That's 4 people.
it's about a
correct.
$52,000 raise
A year, that's just
per
base.
year.
what's the,
So I'd figure 70,000.
yeah, what's the dollar impact of the raises?
So I roughly ran just base, it's about 47 with the increases, that's not including the taxes.
Including the clerk of court?
Yes,
was your
because I added the
computation?
5. I was at 42 before, and again, those were just rough numbers on roughly the
that's-
20, that was a little bit more. Then if you add the 5, that puts it about 47.
55, 60 grand could cover it.
60.
60 would be the safe side. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and we,
As a guess.
I'm just shooting from the hip.
Yep.
Right.
So it's just, you don't know what people's tax withholdings are, too.
60
Would be enough?
we would do.
Okay.
I guess you want to amend that.
I'm thinking maybe the real estate tax maybe amount. I think we're going to see an increase in property taxes come next year. I mean, I think that's a fair line to maybe
we already have, I
increase.
think, 15,000 in there, which is probably light, but of an increase.
I'm thinking you're going to see more real estate taxes come next year. That's the line that I would probably increase the revenue on to offset this. If I'm correct, it would be line 70. Is that correct, Todd? Just to make sure I'm on the right line?
Yes.
And Kerry, I would agree with you that will probably come in high enough to cover this,
I
my
would-
gut feeling. But general question, do you know, does anyone know when the reassessment year is?
So they just reassessed it.
We just did that last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
No,
I
I'm sorry,
know,
it's this year.
So
Actually,
it's
it's this year.
It's 4 years out.
right.
So
I think you're going to be fine.
I think,
You'll
I mean,
have
the
new
development that's going on in
development.
this city.
yeah, we have new development and tear me down instead of being,
Oh, yeah, did you see these two? Well, I mean, of course, they won't be reassessed, but they got those 2 monsters being built on Colonial, that side.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think it's a safe,
So you're bumping out to what, 9, 10?
So let's go to, what is it, 9?
9, 10.
9, 10. So we're on line, so I would make a motion to amend line 70. And we're on 2023, let me make sure. So,
M.
yeah, box M to go to 920, that would be 70,000.
Oh, you going 70?
Is that what, you said
We said
70?
60.
Oh, 60, I'm sorry, so 910, okay, I'm sorry.
9, 10.
So again, a motion to amend line 70 in box M to read from 850 to 910.
So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Wheeler. Anyone want to speak on proposed motion? Public hearing is now closed.
Second.
We have a second by Councilman Johnson. All in favor?
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Question, can we
They
just,
are amended.
rather than going through line items on the salaries, can we just amend it for them to reflect the increases in the previous ordinances?
Yeah, I would.
Okay, then I'll make that motion. I move to amend the 2023 budget to increase, or to reflect the increases in the previous ordinance that passes tonight for salaries,
Not to exceed 60,000.
not to exceed 60,000.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. Anyone want to come speak on proposed ordinance? No one, motion. No one coming forward. Second by Councilman Chatelain. All in favor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 yeas, 0 nays. We are amending.
Okay.
All right, so now we want to vote on proposed ordinance number
You said you had-
2022.
No, I've got some more.
Yeah, I think he's got some other amendments.
I'm looking at line 691.
I'm sorry, do we have to make reference to amending all the burden cost? Because we just increased
Well,
salaries.
that's what we did.
That's what we just did.
We just gave him carte blanche to do what he needs to do.
He'll
on those.
adjust it.
Up
yeah.
to 60,000.
Yeah, up to 60,000.
Thank you.
672?
691.
691.
Oh, 690.
This is in the fire sales tax fund. I'm looking to increase line 691, column N, as in November, to $418,954.
418 what?
Again?
Was that 418?
418,954.
Which column?
Column N, November, line 691 is to transfer out to the capital fund. That's an extra $375,000.
It should be M, as in.
Yeah, M, not N.
I'm sorry, M.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
No,
what I was
you're right.
wondering.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
okay,
You're
'cause
right.
it's a negative. Okay.
So what are you increasing it to?
418,954.
So what's the change, 300?
375, yes, sir.
And I guess a little.
And that would-
Transfer account, you would also have.
And that would likewise increase the fire capital to that amount.
Capital. Right. It's
Yeah.
a transfer in to the capital fund for the same amount.
Correct.
And the reason we doing this is because
This is,
funds came in much higher than expected.
Correct, yes. So the funds, the sales tax funds have come in much higher than expected, even this past month, and we expected them again to go back down. And the fire department has some immediate capital needs that can be fulfilled over the next calendar year, fiscal year. So I'd like for them to go ahead and do that if they
so
can.
I'm sorry, it was line 691.
Yes, sir.
You're amending, which is transfer out to the capital fund.
Transfer out to the capital fund. So you'd also see a.
We
trans-
haven't amended the transfer into the capital, I mean,
Not yet, but I,
It would be done
They would
concurrently,
simultaneous,
I would
yeah.
think.
Have to change, yeah.
so if you do that, just as of today, you would still have, and let me find that paper. If you do that as of today, you would still have, well, it's here somewhere. Oh, it's here somewhere.
so
So I got this.
should this not have been an amendment?
You'd
to
still
the-
have $140,000 in the fire sales tax fund if you did have to pay an extraordinary amount of money back for the sales tax collections, which we don't expect.
Not to cut in, but our original commitment or goal was 88,000.
What was that, sir? 88?
88 was what we originally anticipated to be able to roll into capital or.
From 2022?
Correct.
Right.
So even with doing this 375.
Yeah, it's
we would still
just
be at
in the capital.
140 And I'm gonna say actually more than that, because next month, I would anticipate it's gonna come in higher than the 100,000.
You're still a month behind.
Right, correct. So it's really gonna be closer to 200,000.
So rolling this into the capital fund. And then you're going to propose a transfer out to the capital fund, from the capital fund.
I'm proposing a concurrent transfer out from sales tax to capital and a transfer in to the capital.
He's not spending it yet.
We're not spending it.
Right.
It's there so that it can be spent. It's next year's money there so that it can be spent.
One,
Because you can't just go from the sales tax to the capital, right?
weren't the capital funds just being maintained in the sales tax fund? We haven't, was the intention to roll it into the capital fund?
I think that was the intention. I think the intention of the sales tax funds and the millage fund for the police was always just to collect the money into one spot and disperse it from there where it needed to be.
Correct.
I'm agreeing.
So we move some money to the general fund, and then some to capital.
Yes, the budget, the 2023 budget already has some 400,000, I think, of sales tax revenue moved into the general fund for,
700,000, yeah.
but no,
Right.
let me finish the sentence. Some 400,000
And
moved
that would be
for
anticipated
equipment.
2023 collections, correct.
Yes, yes. So, I mean, there's already like
Oh, I see.
400,000 being spent on, quote, equipment, repair, and
So
refurbishment.
that wasn't,
And then the rest of it was labor costs. Of the 700,000,
400,000, if that was already in the
No.
2023 budget, that would have not been anticipated 2023 revenue. That would have been
The,
anticipated,
I'm just saying what we've already done. In
Excuse
this
me.
budget,
excuse me, the 2023 budget, currently the transfer out to capital is 43,000,
right? It wasn't.
no, the capital, I'm talking about to the general fund,
is 700,000.
706,000.
Correct.
And of which part of that is salary and
Correct.
salary-related cost, and part of it is the equipment schedule. And I
Correct.
think
And the only thing that we're asking to be put into capital at this point is revenue from 2022. No revenue from
I understand.
2023 collections.
I understand.
At this point, we'll address that and decide what and how we address that later in the year.
Yeah, it just means that we're compiling and accounting for these capital fund monies in two different spots. And it's not extremely complicated, but it's going to be, we're going to have money accumulating in a fund during the year, and then we're going to have money in a capital fund. So as we look at it,
So he
we
can't-
have to look at both accounts to see where we stand.
So you can't spend the money out of the fund till we move it to capital.
Correct.
Well, yes, we're spending 706,000 of it this year. He can't, I mean, the police chief.
mayor can't.
The mayor can't, and the police chief can't spend any of the money until the council moves it
Until we
around.
move it to there.
So we're moving $706,000 in the 2023 budget to the general fund.
Budgeting that of
Yes, sir,
anticipated
of
revenue.
fire department
Correct.
sales tax revenue.
Correct.
We're doing that with the document in front of us tonight, if it
Correct.
passes in this form. And I'm going to be suggesting a change to that. We'll see how that works. Okay, so we're just going to be compiling some money in a sales tax fund, and we're going to be compiling some money and accounting for it in the capital fund. But when we look at the overall sales tax, fire department sales tax, monies available, they're going to be in two different spots. We just have to add them up.
Correct.
I'm not, just a little simple arithmetic.
The accountant's problem.
That's right.
He suggested.
Just to clarify, since you mentioned that,
Right.
if I suggested it, I don't know that I did, or I may have misspoke.
Okay.
So
Is there a better way to do it, Todd? Is there?
I don't know that there's a better but I didn't suggest.
I apologize if I tagged you with that.
Apologize.
So,
But we
I'm
can,
okay.
Right.
You can do
Change this.
If this is what the council wants.
if
to
you
do,
come up with a better
that's
way,
okay.
you recommend it to us, and I mean, we'll be more than happy to look into changing
Just to
it.
speak openly, I don't know why you would, to Mr. Buddy's point, why you would have sales tax money in like two different pots.
So
you
just
know,
come from
keep
everything,
it all
go
in the
right
sales tax
into.
fund, and when we're ready to spend it, when we have a list of projects, or when we have a truck ready to buy.
So the
or a
only
thing
reason I think it was done this way, because they were trying to let some money build up for
Right.
capital
And that's gonna-
projects.
and
That's the
gonna
only
happen.
reason it
But
was set up.
It's
And
gonna
that's
build up.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah,
build
and
up.
that's gonna happen in the future. And that's exactly what we're
Then
doing
it-
now, is
then it'll-
we have projects in place, we're ready to move forward after the first of the year.
Then
Yeah, it's just a matter
It'll build
of-
up in the capital fund. and
Like, I'm not trying to make this complicated on
There's
you.
nothing wrong with that. So we can build it up in the capital fund.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Now, some of it won't be spent in the capital fund. A good portion of this money, probably close to, well, maybe less than half, if it keeps coming in the way it has, will be spent in the general fund. So it has to start out in the general fund, I'm sorry, in the sales tax fund
How about that?
to go to the general fund.
How many departments you know leave money sitting there?
Yeah, right?
It's our,
That's how I would
it's our
run a
intention to, at some point, for intended projects.
To build
That
up.
we know
Right.
having.
So there's going to be a
that we'll have
Large
spreadsheet
projects.
Right.
keeping track of growth of monies accumulated to spend for a truck, whatever, or a major piece of equipment. And it just, by having it in two different spots, it's going to be a little bit more a hair bit more complicated. You'll be adding up money in two places. You'll be
That's
adding money.
fine from my perspective.
Yeah.
That's not a complication.
And I would say that it would be real easy to leave it in the sales tax fund, because the money can't be spent without council approval. So you let it accumulate in one spot. And if you want to buy a truck out of there, instead of moving money from the sales tax fund to the capital fund, the council just approves the expenditure from the sales tax fund. But again, I can live with whatever we decide to do. So,
If it goes from the sales tax to this capital fund, it still needs the council approval no matter what, right?
Yeah.
That's what I-
yeah, I think it's, functionally, it's the same effect. It just means we're looking at two pots of money to figure out where we stand overall and in detail, instead of one pot. Not insurmountable. A little bit more work for the finance department. All right?
I'm just-
I don't think that it needs approval again from the council. Once you put it into the capital fund, it can be spent directly from
That's what we
there
were just having a
by,
conversation about.
by mayor's approval.
The
Then I
mayor,
wanna
the
keep-
mayor's approval.
At that point, it would be mayor's
Once it's in
approval.
a capital project, it's the, up to
Then
the mayor.
I don't want to put it in the capital fund. I want to keep it in the sales tax fund. That's just that's the way I would
Because
vote.
that would be subject to council approval.
Correct.
Okay.
So,
Well then,
good.
no, go ahead.
So am I to come up with individual projects and then move and take 2 months at a time every time to do a project? Or is there a little faith in myself left at all in this group? Or the department at all? No, wait, I'm asking.
I was just legit asking for clarification, that's all.
Is there any
An issue of
faith that the mayor can
faith's on the
monitor
mayor.
exactly what it is that the department is going to do and move that money to the capital
So, excuse me,
project fund?
did we not move in the $706,000 in this proposed budget? Is there not about $400,000?
No.
In equipment-type purchases?
No.
Well, we're using, in this budget, we're using $706,000 of sales tax
You're
funds
talking
in the
about
23.
You're talking about 2023
Yes.
revenue. This is
But-
revenue from 2022 collection that we're asking to move from the fire
Okay.
fund
So you want,
to,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
to a capital fund for us to use on the proposed expenses.
Okay, my point being, Todd, you've already got $400,000, roughly, I believe it's around $400,000 to spend on equipment-type purchases and
I don't see
refurbishments.
where that is. Is that in fact the case?
We moved $706,000 of ARPA money, I'm not ARPA, I'm sorry. In the 2023 budget, there's $706,000 transferred into the fire department budget,
Correct.
of which I think 300 and something or 400,000 are for salaries and salary related.
I think the chief could probably answer, but I think a greater portion than that is salary related.
Right, 600,000.
Right, right.
Correct. And I'm not proposing that we spend any 2023 collection of sales tax revenue on capital expenditures at this point. The only thing that we would be moving to capital expenditures at this point would be from 2022's collection,
Which is cash in the bank.
which is cash that we would have in the bank.
So then what really needs to be
Ma'am.
amended is 2022's budget, not 2023's. If there was more
Well, it's
money-
coming from the fund, so you can do it in 2023's
Right, but I
budget.
think that's what I kept telling Jason. I'm like, he just said 2022. I think that's where the confusion is.
That's where the taxes are
He's talking about
coming from.
amending 23. You're really talking about more revenue has come in the sales tax for 2022 than what was budgeted.
Correct.
So in my opinion, what needs to be amended is your sales tax for 2022, show the increase in that budget. You see, that's where I think,
No, I
that's where I'm
don't,
getting
I
a
don't
little
disagree with
confused.
that either, Councilman. However, the money is shown where it comes in.
Right, that's where I'm a little,
And
that's
most,
why I'm.
most
like,
certainly, revenue needs to be shown higher in 2022's.
Well, because it's being
Budget,
credited in
collection.
2022, should it, I mean, Tyler, I'm not trying
I
to.
don't think the year is really,
Okay.
is really a question.
Right, just for me, as you were talking about.
I don't think the
Jason,
year
we
is-
already-
For you
Because
to
it's
understand
allocated
exactly
for the-
how it
it's just
is
gonna-
and where it's coming from.
It's just going to decrease the fund balance at the end of the day.
Whether it's 22 or 23.
That's what it is. It's a fund
I
balance.
don't see that as
Can spend it on something else.
Spend whatever
Yeah.
you want, but I mean, a lot of eyes on you.
Yeah, you can spend it for whatever you want for the fire department.
I mean, because still at that same point, you're gonna put your proposal,
Yes, 100%.
you're gonna put your proposal in, it's on him to approve it.
Correct.
So I'd like to point everybody to line 345 for a moment.
I'm sorry, what line is the
Line
345?
45, well, actually 46.
46. Okay, which box?
Column, let's see, the 22 original budget is column I, and the 23 original budget
M.
is column M. So if I'm reading this correctly, that's wages and benefits for the fire department,
That's the entire budget.
and it's including all these
Wages and
direct
benefits, the 1.9.
labor and burden.
For 2023.
We really should go from J, though, because that's the amended 2022, huh?
To one.
Now, amended 2022 doesn't give you the change.
I got it.
If you take the 2022 budget, it was pre-sales tax.
I got you.
So when you look at 23, it includes the sales tax and a full year of new personnel raises, everything else.
Correct.
That's right.
So we've got a delta there, a change of some
400,000.
386,000? Is that correct?
No,
No, it's got to be
it's close to the.
Gotta be
it's close to the
500.
580, 590.
580,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 386 number I was looking at is
I thought he was
incorrect.
just talking about the salary.
So,
This line, though,
and that includes some additional personnel that we did not discuss
then he changed the I.
back in August. $132,000 of additional personnel. So anyway, there's 586,000, in this 2023 budget, there's about $586,000 of ARPA money here
Sales
Not sales tax.
from the sales tax, yes. And that includes new personnel and raises, as compared to the 2022 original budget. So the delta, the other $140,000 must be in equipment or something.
So there's
That's correct. It's not
$54,629 going to capital lease. That's the purchase of
That's the first
the
fire truck.
the next fire truck.
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's a $1,984 that would be going between janitorial supplies and, well, really, it's small equipment, adding 2,000 of small equipment is exactly what it is. There's $1,700 going into gas, oil, and fuels of an increase. There's $397,637 going into payroll and expenses in addition. And that is it on the revenue side, on the expenditure side.
Well,
In comparison to 2022's budget, the amended 2022's budget is an additional total revenue of $321,172 and additional expenses of $321,500. $100,000, no, I'm sorry, excuse me. Total revenue, and total expenses of the same amount.
So I'm still, and I've heard the numbers you threw out, Todd, but I'm still thinking there's another $100,000 of cost, additional expenditures that I haven't focused on. But,
So that's a total budget of $1,952,060, is that correct?
yeah, currently the 2023 original budget is $1,952,060.
So that's it. We have not addressed anything else of the revenue that would be coming into the fire fund revenue from tax.
So,
We transferring $706,046 from fire sales tax, from the fire fund, at some point in the year. I mean, it's not transferred in January. It's-
no, it will be. This budget transfers.
Budgeted, yeah.
It becomes part of your budget immediately.
But as we anticipate expenditures,
amend
we anticipate revenue as well. I mean, as
Right.
you collect sales tax throughout the year, you collect taxes throughout the year. And, it's not all spent in January, it's spent January through December. So even though you may officially pencil it in, it's not spent
So,
and gone in January.
yeah, and I'm going back to a comment I made at the last regular meeting, that we had envisioned in August spending about 400 and a little over 400,000 on raises, personnel, and burden. And now we're at,
For the full year.
for a full year, yes, sir. Now we're at 586 for a full year.
50,
And what that amounts to, the thing that makes up the most of that is the 2 additional firemen that was discussed.
but it wasn't a cost of 2 additional firemen, it was a cost of about 1.25.
Well-
So the only place it is increase in expenditures, and it's 400,000 in salaries, okay, increase over 2022. 54,000 in, for the truck, and then 2,000 in small equipment.
And we're,
1,700 in gas, oil, and fuels, and that's it, Mr. Buddy. There is no other,
Well, let me
there's no
say-
50,000 hidden
well,
somewhere.
let me say this, I don't know where it is, Todd, it's somewhere, because we've already transferred in this budget. No, in this budget, we've transferred in 700,000 plus, already in this budget.
706,000.
Right, and you just said you've identified spending a little over 500, maybe 550,000 of that, 600. There's $100,000 of increased expenditures, and it may all be $1,000 a pop. I doubt it, but there's $100,000 or so of expenditures that we haven't
Right,
zeroed in on.
We're gonna get, here's part of where maybe the money that you're thinking about is we're gonna have a decrease in revenue from that fire insurance tax of $45,853 in 2023 from 2022.
Well, that's a part of it, yeah, that would,
Okay, so
I
there's
didn't
a-
focus on that at all.
Okay, so there is a decrease in 45, and I'm sorry, I overlooked this when I was going through the numbers. There is a decrease in $45,863 from fire insurance tax. There was a one-time additional payment that we got, or additional revenue that we got in 2022, that we did not get in 2021 or 2023. And we'll probably never get it again. So that
Okay, well, that
brings-
explains a large chunk of what I
so
was
that
trying
brings
to
that fire
reconcile
insurance
to.
tax payment back down to $52,225.
Okay.
Which is what it typically was on an annual basis. The 5 mills, we're still anticipating 495,000. The fire sales tax, $706,046, which is a $367,035 increase
I think that
over
accounts,
2022.
I think from decreased revenue, the salaries and the other small expenditures for small equipment and whatever else it was, the truck, I think that accounts for the whole 706. Based on the bottom lines here, if the salary is 586, 590, you got about $100,000 left over between the truck, decreased revenue, and other small line items.
Right.
The big chunk of it is what Todd just explained, that
That's
loss in
right.
sales tax.
And I'm sorry I overlooked that.
No, and I didn't,
passed
I
right
overlooked it. Nope, so did I.
So I'll remove my amendment, line 691, column M, to increase to $418,954, with a concurrent increase in the capital fund and the fire line items.
So how much is that amount of the increase again, sir?
418,954.
That's the
That is,
increase, or that is the new number?
that is the new number. The increase is 375.
And you want to put it in the capital fund where the mayor can spend the money, correct?
Yes, sir.
I would like to keep it subject to council approval. That's just my thoughts on it.
Even if it's in capital, you still have to put it to something to
Well,
put it out.
Here's
So
the thing,
so you
the
would,
difference is
it would still have to
if
come to
it's
council.
in the fund,
Yeah.
then each project, I have to put together, come to the council, ask for the permission to spend it, and do
Right.
it. Take 2 months to
Take 2
get that
months.
done. With this, I put projects together and I bring them to the mayor. The mayor reviews them. If he thinks it's suitable or proper for the fire department to spend the city's money in that way, then he approves them
Sounds awful, man.
and signs off on them and move forward. A lot like you're doing with other projects in the city.
So it's not just
You put
putting
money.
in, it's not just putting in capital, it's actually putting in the fire department capital where he
Correct.
could just spend it right away.
Correct.
Okay.
And the
On
distinction
fire
is-
needs only, which would come by the request from the fire department to the mayor.
And the distinction
In the
is,
same note, the mayor could spend that without your approval. It's the mayor.
Yeah, absolutely can. Look,
You really want to give me
I mean, look, I learned a long
Do
time
we really
ago.
want to give him that much money?
I learned a long time ago from Benny Mosca that he once told me that, listen, there's no doubt in my mind you can get whatever budget you want, but you'll only spend what I want you to spend.
That's it.
And that holds true for any mayor.
so
I
what
mean,
we're
the mayor
doing
has to
here
review.
is, we're dealing with a process that will go on for infinity. And we're turning over the ability to spend that money. We're creating a process which is replicated in future years. We'll make that money available for any mayor in the future to spend without council approval.
Council could change it at any time.
But it already,
amend that at any
but
time.
it already is, and the only thing that we're asking you at this point is to move this 400,000 to the capital, okay? Any money that comes into that fund in the future that we
Needs to
want
be
to spend in
transferred to
capital, we then have
So
to
what we
ask.
will have done,
for that.
and here's my other side too, you know, I still feel, and I felt very strongly about building up a capital fund.
Correct.
And to
And we're
sort of align
already doing
with
that
the
at a
schedule.
quicker rate than you and I had discussed.
Right.
Even with doing this.
But what we're doing is we're committing this year, 1 million plus, 1,100,000 and a few dollars of that money to be spent in 1 year.
Isn't that a wonderful
That's what the
thing?
money's there for.
Isn't that a wonderful thing? I'm gonna be able to put radios on firemen that go into burning buildings. I'm gonna be able to put a system on them. If they go down, we'll be able to track them. We'll also be doing many other things for medical response and mass casualty incidents that we haven't been able to do in this city. We've rolled 184 times to medical calls in 2022, and we've had 3 saves. We've saved 3 lives in the last 4 weeks. And what I propose is that we continue moving forward doing exactly that. And it's a wonderful thing that we can spend 1 million and something on the fire department. It's about time. Thank you.
On a personal note, I'll say that the fire department didn't have a piece of equipment that my father-in-law needed 2 weeks ago, or last week, I guess, a week ago. EMS showed up with it. Thankfully, they were quick. Thankfully, they didn't get a no EMS units available response from dispatch like they quite
Do a lot
often
of
do.
times.
Like they quite often do.
More times than not.
One of the things on this list that the chief gave you before all that happened was for something called the Lucas machine. It's an automatic compression for CPR. I'd like the fire department to have one. Hell, I'd like them to have 3. So, look, I'll remove my amendment. I think the money should be where it needs to be spent at the discretion of the chief and the mayor for the fire needs.
So I'm going to propose an amendment also, Councilman Asbill, and probability is it won't pass, but if it were to pass, it would affect your amendment. So if
I'd
you
like to
could-
move with my amendment.
Sir?
I'd like to move with my amendment, then. I move for a vote.
Okay, well, we'll do that, and if mine passes, we'll have to amend yours. I was going to suggest that we vote on mine first, because the probability is mine's not going anywhere, and then yours would be just as you're currently proposing it. I'm not suggesting we don't vote on yours. I'm not suggesting you defer it for a month.
Okay, Councilman Asbill, will you
Let's go with your amendment, sir.
please repeat your amendment, just so we have it for the record straight and clear?
Move to amend line 691 of the 2023 budget, column M, to increase to $418,954 and make the concurrent change increase into capital fund fire.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to amend proposed ordinance number 2022-33. As Councilman Asbill stated, we'll now open the public hearing. No one coming forth will now close public hearing. All in favor?
Yay.
Nay.
So 1 nay, 4 yeas. Motion is amended.
I have a second amendment to amend line 690, column M, increase to $717,171. That's an increase of about $11,000.
717 what?
717,171, and that is to account for the difference in the first payment, the first finance payment on the new truck. Hopefully we get ordered next year. Just the lapse of time from when the budget was initially proposed to now, there's an increase in that first payment.
Do we have a, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead and finish with this, and I'll ask my question later.
And just as a summary, the total cost of waiting has been about $200,000 because of the increased cost of the truck and also the increased financing rates.
Overall, over the 15 years,
Over the
year.
15-year,
Correct.
yeah, period.
about 100,000 in actual cost and about 100,000 in financing.
So if the council were to increase line 690, it would also increase lines 291, which is the transfer end to the general, and increase line 329, which is the capital lease principal,
By how much, sir? Same,
the same. So 717, 171, and then 329 would increase to 65,753.
She's looking for $11,000?
Correct.
So we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill, as stated. We'll public hearing. No one coming forth, we'll close public hearing. All in favor? Oh, 7 got second by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
yay,
Mr. Tom, what were you?
yay on that
5
one.
yeas, 0 nays. Okay, you want to call for the vote on proposed ordinance?
Just to be clear, so that's 3 amendments, just so I'm
I'll send it
tracking all the changes, which I'm fine with, but that's 3 that we've talked about.
Yes, sir.
Just call me tomorrow, I'll tell you how we amend it.
Don't, hey,
I'm just making sure I didn't-
don't trust him and the mayor. Just trust me on this one.
You see, they already lead me astray.
691, line 291, and line 329.
No, but I would say 3 concepts, like.
Yes.
different items.
Line items, it's more line.
No, there's a whole
4.
bunch of, no, there's a whole slew of lines, it's gonna be way more than.
No, we just, we just talking about, we were discussing here with.
With the fire.
It's 4.
So 3 concepts between salaries,
I can,
Okay,
yeah, salaries and 2 fire.
correct, that's what.
Mr. Tom, you still have a proposed amendment?
Broad concepts, it's gonna hit 30 different, or 40
no, I get,
different.
okay.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you have a whole-
Changes that we just
2
made.
reams of paper.
3 concepts.
Concepts.
3 amendments were voted on and approved, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Meeting's not over, though.
Right.
That's okay, I'm just keeping them, I'm making sure I'm current right now. Okay, I'm good.
Mr. Tom, you got an amendment? You want?
Well, I do.
Sorry.
As I understand the current budget, we added 2 additional new firefighters, beginner, I don't know what the proper term is, so excuse me, rookies, to this year's budget that were not in the amended 2022 budget. I think we did in August. Is that correct, Todd?
It's not 2. We had Miss Rena's salary that was
Right.
already in place, which pretty much 3/4 or better paid for one of the firemen. There was one additional, correct.
So, yeah, and Ms. Rena didn't have some of the burden that your firemen have. They didn't have.
But, I mean, when you compare dollars to dollars for the complete
Okay.
burden of one and
So
and the other.
we've added one net new employee. Net new employee. And
Just to clarify, that's one net over what was amended in '22.
yes,
Yes.
yes, sir, that's exactly what
Correct.
I meant. Thank
But also, we had a 30-year fireman that passed.
We also, but wait a
Were
second though,
replaced.
we also amended 2022's budget to.
cover that.
To fund them during 2022, partial,
you. Yes.
a month and a half.
Now, I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get my arms around the number
But
of personnel.
2023, correct, basically over 2022 was an entirety, yes.
How about we do it like this? Starting 2022, how many fire employees did you have?
Yeah, right. I mean, because we were down,
Right.
Lee. I mean, I could give you that number. It was
I would say,
12 plus, you and I, and then Rena.
wait, I'm sorry, 13.
12 plus you and I and Rena.
Yeah, okay, Ms. Rand, yeah.
So 15. And now you have,
6 per shift minus 1 shift, so you'd have 20 total.
okay.
So,
Yeah, it
so
is. It'd be
the
And
number of
and you expect to
personnel-
go into '23 with 2 additional,
20.
20.
Total.
Because actually, those
Gotcha. And-
came in 2022.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So you're counting those 2 that are in the
Correct.
academy now, okay.
Can I back up, and Todd, please clarify, and I believe this is correct, but I'm asking a question here. In August, I think it was August, we amended the budget to account for the new revenue stream and the new raises and
Correct.
new employees. You budgeted at that point in time, going forward, a staff of 19, including Ms. Rena.
That sounds about right.
Okay, and what I'm hearing now is the 2022 budget, 2023 budget that we're now considering is 20 personnel. So a net new 1 employee, but a different classification. It went from administrative to fireman.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Do you intend to hire an administrative officer? Administrative employee?
No,
So 20 employees,
we'll cover everything we need.
which is basically the August schedule, some names have changed. You're eliminating Ms. Rena and you're adding another fireman. Now, help me out here because this is a learning experience. When we went over the schedule in August for the amended fire department budget, sales tax raises, et cetera, you staffed each vehicle up to or each shift up to a number of operating personnel.
Correct.
We're adding 1 more person. It doesn't get us 1 more person per shift, it gets us 1 more person that's an actual fireman. What, can you explain?
So we were down a man in Leo Schultz, who had passed.
But Todd, let me say that the
We
schedule
added-
you prepared had a shift, you had new for new people, and you had anyone who's passed since.
Correct.
You had your operating shifts manned in that August schedule, which,
The only thing I added to that was 2 employees. The only thing that would be in addition to that would be 2 employees, but minus Ms. Rena.
yeah, one net new employee.
Correct.
So, again, this schedule
We're
that
going
you
to
had
be
prepared.
at 5 men on 1 shift, so that would have brought us to 5 men, okay? So we're going to be at 5 men on 1 shift and 6 men on 2 shifts. And it is my intention that if we see that revenue stays really good during 2023, at some point later in the year, I'd like to fill that 3rd shift with a 6-man, and that would pretty much be it for a while for employees. Let me tell you a story about something that happened the other night. It has nothing to do with the budget, but it does have to do with the fire department heading in the right direction with manpower. We had a fire in Harahan Oaks. We respond. Y'all all know the individual whose house it was. We got there. I made an assessment. We had a crew going inside to do an investigation. There was a pretty decent amount of smoke showing. We knew that something was burning, we just didn't know where it was. I felt that it was probably in the attic at the time. Immediately, because of habit over the last 20 years, struck a second alarm for Station 19 and Station 32 to come in and bring their trucks and manpower in to help us. It was nice. We found that there was no fire in the attic. The fire was pretty much contained to underneath the eaves and working its way up the roof line. But as that crew was inside doing their search, doing their investigation, I had enough people to where I was actually able to get a second line off of the truck, advance it to the house and start extinguishing the fire. And when my second alarm company got there, he says, "What do you need from me, Chief?" And I said, "You know, I think I might have jumped the gun. We knocked this fire down, and I don't think that I'm gonna need your help, but if you can stick around for about 5 minutes so that I can make sure of that, I'd appreciate it." When 3rd District got and parked down the street and their manpower got off the truck, they said, "Chief, what can we do for you?" I said, "Y'all can go back to your station. I'm sorry I woke you up." It's the first time in 20 years that that has happened. Typically, we would have needed that manpower. Unfortunately, the good and bad thing, a lot of times they're available. But the potential is there for them to be on their own big thing and not available for us that quickly. We're going to get people here if it has to come from the West Bank. However, it's really nice that we fully functioned and did everything we needed to do. We cut utilities. We had a team inside. We had another team outside. We had a pump operator who was getting things done. A guy's coming in, "Chief, what do you need from me?" And I was able to just assign how it's supposed to work. It hasn't been like that ever in my career. Never been like that. So, anyway, back to the numbers, sir.
Excuse me. And I know that was your goal, to get to where you could safely man a fire. And I know from history, there were times when you weren't in a position to or properly have a man enter a house because you didn't have the proper staff outside.
That is correct.
And it sounds like you're there now. And we are there now.
Yeah, there will be times that we still have to hit second alarms, undoubtedly. That's going to happen. However, at least we're going to be able to get the basic functions and the things we need set up and in place to where by the time the second alarm companies come in, it would be as a typical department would have their other companies coming in.
So my preference would be to eliminate one of those additional firemen, to have shifts of 5 instead of 2 shifts of 6 in one
So
shift.
you're proposing that we terminate 2 of the people that we hired at the end of last year, eliminate those positions and go back down to 5?
No, well, you would, I said one person as opposed to 2. 2 would keep you, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 would keep 5 people on each shift, assuming everybody were healthy and not on vacation.
If you cut 2 of them loose, we would be at 5 people per shift. If you kept the 2, then you would have 6 on 2 shifts and 5 on 1.
Chief,
Yes.
I'm gonna do my best to fund your budget or whatever we can. I'm not gonna tell you how many officers to have on a truck. I don't expect you to tell me how many people have Wirehouse.
Thank you.
I stand by your support. Whatever you need to let us know. As long as the funding is there, we're gonna do what we can to fund it.
In my heart of hearts, and I know that this is, Mr. Buddy and I disagree on this. On my heart of hearts, the only reason I called the mayor and talked to him about adding that additional person, and the second as well, eliminating the administrative position and using it as a firefighter position, was because I honestly felt that we would be able to continue on the path that Mr. Buddy and I spoke about, continue on that path. It is as important to me, or even more, that we stay on that path than it is to Mr. Buddy, because I'm the guy that has to do the job. He's the guy that has to do the job. it's important that we have the equipment to do the job. And that's what Mr. Buddy's concerned about, is down the line that we have the money to do that equipment. I am not going to do anything to jeopardize that, because that's been the problem for the last 30 years. Manpower. We can have all that equipment in the world. If we don't have the people to use it, it doesn't do any good.
Vice
So
versa.
manpower was-
Vice versa.
Correct. Manpower was just as, and probably more important at this point, but we're getting there.
Do I believe the firemen have a lot of downtime? Yes. But when there's a fire, you need your guys there. Do I believe the sewer department needs 5 guys? Sometimes. And you want to make sure they have what they need. We want to make sure the fire department has what they need when
But
they need it.
I also don't think, Councilman Chatelain, that the firemen have as much downtime as most people think that they do.
Oh, I'm not
You
disagreeing.
know, if you spend any amount of time there, you'll see the things that they do on a daily basis and on an annual basis. And the way that they take care of the equipment, the way that they take care of the trucks, the way that they take care of the water supply system throughout the city with the hydrants, the way that they take care of our hose, the way that they take care of themselves mentally, and how much time they actually invest into training and how much they do for that. It's incredible. They don't have as much downtime, although I wish they had more downtime, to be honest. But, you know, there's always something to be done back there.
The funding's here to fund the department right now. Let's fund it.
I would sure hate to have money sitting in the bank and need some of that equipment and not have it, and something happened and we didn't fund it because we wanted to see an account grow.
Well, this won't take real long. I'm proposing an amendment to eliminate one fireman from the 2023 budget. And it would be a reduction in line 332, salaries of $24,100, a reduction in line 333 and/or 335, which has to do with scheduled overtime, and I know there's a difference in the counting, of $10,222, a reduction in line 337, holiday pay of $3,024, a reduction in line 341 FICA of $2,688, a reduction in line 243 medical cost, Medicare of $628, a reduction in line 340 retirement match of $14,629, a reduction in line 344 workers' compensation of $2,443, a reduction in line 339 healthcare of $8,171. There's a small reduction in vision. I couldn't find a light item for it. We'll skip over that. And a reduction of $342, line 342, life insurance, a reduction of $84, with an offsetting reduction in transfer in from the sales tax fund.
So I'd like to follow up with, before you consider that. Excuse me? Before you consider that, now's your chance, council. Before you choose to eliminate that position, I'll resign mine. You can have the salary that I make. You pay that young man that I thought to, and talk to the mayor about hiring, and he keeps his job, and I walk away. That's my proposal to you. So you don't have to cut that young man.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and speak up, and I said it earlier. I mean, I'm not going to tell a fire chief how many firemen he needs to patrol his department. What's got me just puzzled right now, Mr. Buddy, is you didn't just come up with these numbers and these line items that quick.
I did it this afternoon.
I would have loved to have a phone call ahead of time. I'm tired of coming to a meeting and having all of these changes at the meeting. We've been having these packets for a month.
So
Call me with a question. I mean,
Councilman-
some things can change
Councilman,
here.
things come up at council meetings I haven't heard a thing about. I don't complain about it. That's what happens.
I'm not complaining either.
Okay,
I'll
but
second your motion.
you're stating a fact,
A fact.
and you're correct. Things come up at these meetings
I'll call
that
for the
have
vote.
not been discussed. And by the way, we got to be careful about what we discuss by law. But I may,
Me and
listen.
you could discuss anything we want.
Well, yes, sir, Eric, and we can. And I brought up some of these points at our last regular meeting. This should not be a surprise. I haven't changed my position from the last regular meeting. I think we're spending money aggressively, and I'm not saying it's not for a good cause, but if we had another $1 million in the general fund in cash, we could spend it here tonight in a heartbeat. We don't have to spend this money because we have a windfall. We can let this ride and see how things turn out. Or are we going to go into a recession? Or sales tax going to fall? Sales tax have fallen in the last 2 months. We don't know what the future is. And when you start hiring people, you've got a big commitment. And that commitment here is whatever we spend on personnel, we're taking out of, quote, a reserve for a downturn, and we're taking it away from the capital fund. So my position on this hasn't changed. What you're seeing now is a proposal because we're talking about it. And by the way, my proposal before the clarification that Todd gave me on the number of personnel and the net increase of 1 position since the August discussion, I was going to propose 2 personnel cuts.
I don't need money for capital if I don't have men to put on the trucks.
It's a two-edged sword.
I'll call for the vote. Move to close the discussion, call for the vote.
Okay, we're going to call for the vote as per Mr. Thomas Buddy amendment as read into record. All in favor?
Yay.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
See, I told you, it'd be quick.
1 yea, 4 nays. Proposed amendment is defeated. Do y'all want to vote on the ordinance now, or you have more amendments?
I have just one more if you'll entertain me. And Councilman Chatelain, it's something you and I have spoke about before. I'd like to increase line 720, which is in the ARPA fund, to recognize revenue increasing $300,000 to $627,250, and decreasing expenses, wherever that needs to decrease, of $300,000 for Dixie Youth Field renovations. We've gotten quotes, we've gotten estimates in from Myers Engineer.
Change to 720, you said?
Yeah, increasing line 720 to 627,250.
All right.
Line M, column M. Sorry.
And you want to increase it from what to what, sir?
Nope, I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. I apologize.
It's just a dash right there.
Yeah.
It's 0.
Oh, because that 327 was 22's by the way. Okay, so I'm increasing line 720, column M, $300,000.
300. Gotcha.
With a corresponding increase somewhere in the expenses for $300,000.
Which would be what, 724? M?
Yeah, that works.
So where does that money, the source of that money come from? The 300?
Those are ARPA funds.
That's additional monies we've collected?
Those are ARPA funds.
That's the ARPA account.
Yeah, but we're increasing, that's a revenue item.
It's so this is one of those deferred revenue accounts. You
Correct.
don't recognize the revenue until
you spend it.
until you expend it.
Okay.
So that's cash in the bank that we have.
We just don't recognize it.
And where are we spending that?
So the proposal is to spend $250,000 plus a little extra on engineering fees for the Dixie Youth baseball field. That would be to turf the infields, replace the backstops, replace the nettings and the dugouts.
It's the small field on the 9th Street.
Small field near 9th Street. We need to move forward pretty quickly on this because of the baseball season's coming up real quick. This could be a letter bid because it's under the 250 threshold, so they feel that they can get it done April, May timeframe in time for the season.
Second.
So we have a motion by Councilman Asbill to amend 2022-33 as stated. Second by Councilman Johnson. We'll open for public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll close public hearing. All in favor?
Yay.
Yeah.
Wait, let's check. I'm not opposed to this. But again, we're spending money on and for a worthy cause, on a spur of the moment with no long-term planning. I'm fundamentally opposed to running an entity like that.
This is-
This is money well spent.
Again, Mr. Buddy, this is $27,000 less than what you spent last week at a council meeting from this fund for an emergent issue. I would say that this is also an emergent issue to replace this field before our kids are ready to play baseball this season. It needs to be done. Whether we pay for it as a city, or whether FEMA pays for it down the road, it needs to be done, and it needs to be done now. In fact, I've got $850 I want to propose tonight to start on the gym work and all that, but that's not emergent. You say you wanted to plan for non-emergent, so this is an emergent project that we need to get done. I'd like for it to get done sooner rather than
So it's an
later.
emergent project that we're discussing tonight.
I've discussed it a few times.
Well, I'm going to get back to you, Councilman Asbill. I haven't heard of it. I haven't heard of the need. I thought we were going to do the larger fields, both concurrent. We're talking about just doing the field for the younger
Correct. So-
boys and girls.
Yes,
Or boys, I
so-
guess, because
so-
the girls have a softball.
The girls-
If you're asking for clarification, I'll do that. So the problem with doing both of them, to be quite honest with you, is if we try to do both of them now, then it gets into the public bid process, which is an extra long process, and then it won't be ready for the baseball season. So the idea is that we do this one as turf, we make the other one playable with dirt
In-house.
in-house for this season, and then when we finally have the plan with ARPA money or FEMA money, whatever it turns out to be, then we fix that one as turf for next season.
We have more younger kids ready to play on that field than we do to play on that bigger field.
Yep.
To where we could prep that field in-house and get it practicable to where our younger kids can't even practice over there and get some time in playing.
This will also give you a second, so doing this as a turf field, you'll be able to interchange the bases. It'll give you a second softball field as well.
So when you say turf, we're talking artificial turf?
Artificial turf, yes, sir.
Similar to LaSalle.
Similar to LaSalle, right now the outfields are done,
Grass.
well,
Almost done.
almost done with grass, and then the infields are going to be artificial. And this would also, like I said, do the backstops just like Wilcox did with the cinder block and the netting on top, and do the dugouts and the fencing
So,
around the field.
again, I'm not opposed to this.
Good.
And what I would like to think we could do in the future is that kind of presentation could have been made a month ago, too. I mean, you didn't just come up with this tonight. You've been working on this, and there's a plan moving forward, and we're learning about it at a special meeting on almost, I would think, the tail end of a special meeting. And if I don't ask the question, nobody knows what the plan is and how the hell it's thought out.
I'm like you, Mr. Buddy.
I think it's kind of.
So there were only two councilmen at this meeting. It was myself and Councilman Chatterley, and I think we've been most involved with the playground, and that was so that we didn't, like you said, did not get in trouble with any open meetings laws, because I expected to vote on this relatively soon.
We
Now-
just got answers back on dollar amounts.
Correct.
The concept, the discussion, that going turf instead of natural grass, it's a significant expenditure. I'm still not confident that we need turf. I know we want to get the ballpark, we all know, Eric certainly knows, that having a playground is part of being a community. We need to get the playground up and running. But this is just being thrown out at the last minute. If you look at the timeline between announcement and expenditure of the money, 15 minutes.
I want to approve the other 800,000 he wants for the playground. But I'm being recommended some FEMA reps not to fool with that gym, because we still don't have a blessing from them. And if we start fooling with that gym, we lose all funding from FEMA on that gym. That's not the case on the field. We got a blessing from them on the field. They told us to go ahead and start doing the field. So if he brings up the playground next, the gym, I'm a no.
So let me make a suggestion. We're going to vote on this. I'm going to vote for it. But this information is not all in a vacuum. The mayor gives us updates all the time. This is public information, the status, the plan. This can be announced at a public meeting, and I appreciate the work y'all have put into it. And I'm assuming the mayor's had some input in this also. But, and you need to. This needs to be part of the city.
I didn't. It's okay.
Yeah. So we can do a better job of communicating and still stay in compliance with the law. And let the citizens know that these things are being worked on and considered and what the logic is. So, all right, I'm sorry. I asked my question, I got an answer, so we're ready to
Thank you. I move my amendments.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to amend 2022-33 as stated by Councilman Asbill. We'll open the public hearing. No one coming forth. We'll close public hearing. All in favor for
Yay.
Councilman Asbill's amendment?
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
Also move to amend the budget to add the mayor's statement to the beginning. What was that?
Sorry.
He held it up, and I just wanted to make sure he got going.
Look at that, I just wanted to make sure this got.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. We'll now for public hearing to move the mayor's statement up to the beginning of the budget. No one coming forth. We'll now close public hearing. Do I have a second? Second by Councilman Wheeler. All in favor?
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays.
I move the 2023 budget as amended.
We have a
Second.
motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. Anyone, public
Second.
hearing is now open to come speak on 2022-33 as amended. No one-
I'm sorry, we're voting on the
The entire
budget
budget as
in
amended.
entirety?
As
Second.
amended, yes, sir.
And we have a second by Councilman Buddy. All in favor?
Yay.
Yay.
Mr. Buddy, what was your vote?
Yay.
5 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, Councilman.
Adjourn, or we got other stuff?
Proposed ordinance number 2022-34. The following ordinance was proposed by Councilman Asbill and seconded by Councilman Johnston. An ordinance amending the Harahan Code of Ordinances, Section 14-164, work not requiring a building permit relative to building permit for sidewalks.
Okay, anyone want to speak on proposed ordinance 2022-34? Public hearing is now open. No one coming forth. Public hearing is now closed. Council discussion.
This ordinance is a concurring ordinance to one we have passed previously regarding sidewalks in the city. What this ordinance does is, right now, we don't have a way to monitor the previous ordinance because we didn't require permits for flat work. This will require permits for flat work so that we can make sure those who are doing flat work to a significant amount also rehabilitate their property to add sidewalks to it if they don't currently have sidewalks.
We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Asbill. We have a second by Councilman Johnston. All in favor?
Yay.
Oh, I think it had some
Can I have a
discussion.
discussion?
No,
We
yeah.
just discussed it.
I didn't finish discussing.
Come on. Well, yes, sir.
So, did we get with Molly,
Yes, this is Molly's recommendation. on
and
the
she's
ordinance.
okay with enforcing this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Really?
I didn't get a chance to get with her.
All in favor?
Yay.
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 5 yeas, 0 nays. Thank you, council.
Move to adjourn.
No.
Address the council.
Address the council.
Okay, so anyone like to address the council, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Okay, no one coming forward. Now close address to council.
Reports.
Councilman Asbill?
Merry Christmas, have a Happy New Year. I want to thank this council for a great year. Particularly want to thank Councilman Johnson and Councilman Wheeler for your service over the past 8 years now. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and working with you, even though we didn't always agree, but that's okay. I appreciate the camaraderie we had on this council. Thank you all very much. Looking forward to the new council members coming in, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Ricks. Other than that, like I said, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you.
Councilman Buddy?
Well, I'd like to repeat everything Jason just said, so Kerry, if you just read it back. But no, Kerry and Craig know how much I appreciate everything they did for the council and for me. They will be missed. They've been, great leaders of this city and contributed above and beyond their job description. I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Now, I do want to add a little bit of a business item in here. I do not believe, Kerry, correct me if I'm wrong, does this amended budget make it to the city's website? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but my recommendation is that when Todd amends the budget with all of these amendments, that we post it on the website. Because I couldn't find, ma'am, I couldn't find it. That doesn't mean it's not there. So if you would make sure it's there and let us know where it is, and I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Councilman Chatelain.
Well, as they said, you know, Kerry and Craig will both be missed. I appreciate what they have done in the past. I know they're not leaving. I know they'll be here to help us for whatever we need, and I can truly count on them. They're true friends of mine. Take outside the council, I'd be there for them for anything, and I know they'd do the same for me. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Look forward to the new council, and we're here to help. Whatever y'all need, let us know. Thank you.
Councilman Johnston.
All right, well, I wrote a couple things down because I'm not a good speech giver. So I just wanted to start off by thanking my daughter and my family with sticking through me through all this councilman stuff. Thank you for the citizens for giving me the responsibility of being your councilman. I really appreciate it, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Lastly, I'd like to thank my colleagues and all the city employees. Y'all have all been great, and that's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Councilman Wheeler.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just reiterate what I did at the last meeting. I mean, I want to thank everybody. It's been a good run. You know, I don't think I'm going too far away. I mean, I'm sure we'll be around. I look forward to the new administration, the new council members. I also want to thank the other candidates that ran. I realize, I don't know if I thanked them during the election time, but, you know, I've said it before, public service is a very thankless job. You know, you'll make more friends than you will enemies,
You make more
and I want to
enemies
thank
than you will
those, huh?
You make more enemies than you will
Yeah,
friends,
you will, 'cause
probably.
you have- So again, I want to thank those candidates that ran. I want to congratulate the newly elected officials. And, you know, don't worry, I'll be haggling y'all at the council
You're
meetings
just
for the
gonna come
next
in.
4 years.
So you're going to be, every time we call for
Oh,
public
yeah,
hearing, you're going to be up there?
absolutely, with my script, my
Kerry
typed
Wheeler,
up.
Barrack Street. Oh, my God.
Who's gonna type it out for you?
I have a
I'm just
computer, I
curious.
can type it.
Oh, okay.
But Merry Christmas and yes, a Happy New Year.
Chief St. Cyr, you want to say something?
No, thank you. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank y'all. We appreciate y'all support and everything y'all have done for our department in the last year. Thank you.
You know, I'll be real quick. I'm excited about the next term. I'm gonna miss you two very, very much. You know, I love you guys. We've been through a lot together, a lot more than the current council, because I was a councilman with you at one time, even though I got forgotten about once I became the mayor and I wasn't in the group anymore. But I'll miss you two very much. Craig, it was awesome working with you. Thank you for being a friend, always being an ally. Kerry, thank you for being a rock. You're awesome. And Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I'm excited about starting, you know, January 1 next year, 2023, ready to go. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night, have a good weekend, and please feel free to reach out to me anytime if you ever need anything, any help or any assistance. Thank you.
This is our-
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Johnson, second by
Aw,
Councilman
the
Wheeler.
last one.
All in favor?
Yeah.
We are adjourned.